There were comets, propelling boats, piloted by cantatas, giving mystic music, garlanded with dozens of roses, which floated in the constellations of the heavenly water. There were 12 apsaras rising from the lotus foam, with indigo skin, on a bed of crabs, cooking cartels in their claws, in the sea of rhythmic reinforcements sent with lunar nectar from the denizens of the holy, holy, howling moon. Like mother, I moved enthusiastically in the ether as I leapt from the blue lagoon to gladly save you from stepping on the fins of an Oshuna lionfish, roaring with laughter and Leo. There were 8 chaste dopey mermaids, lathering pearls, pure and white, like Christian virgins, borrowed from oysters, laying on mandarin manatees in Virgo. We didn't hide from the laws of nature. Instead, we stood on trial in the Maha Supreme Court, naked of karma, suspending our breath in the melodic mantra of meditation in the chromatic scales of Libra. And when Surya, the sun, wasn't looking, we begged Ganesh for an unobstructed rite of passage to the icy depths of the Milky Way, way far out there in Pluto, in the 12th house. When we reached the distant cottage of the hermetic ascetic, the hermit reject, even then we still whispered your favorite hymn, the sacred Samaveda, and all of the devas drank their fill of Shiva's black elixir from the tail of Scorpio. Pleased by all of the madness, we left the demigods drunk and bereft, separated into sadness. We showered in the meteors and changed into saffron cosmic cloth, and offered our obeisances to the Guru, Jupiter, relishing in the chastisement of being 108 light years too late for the philosophical lecture given by Charon and Sagittarius.
It's hot and lazy here in the summer season. Nothing to do but sit on the porch and watch as the helicopters circle overhead, tracking the death toll. Thunderclouds boil and rise. The jet stream aberration shoots the burning plastic smell of the KFC down the block directly in my house. With the advent of rain, cooling wind arises. Streets are slick and moist, raising the frequency of car accidents. As dusk approaches, children enter the street, mesmerized by the hot pink contrail chasing the jet into the sunset. As the highways collapse, routes push immovable sections of megaton concrete aside with the patient ease of time. A finger brushes a feather off of the nose, stretched out through the decades and magnified until the body becomes the landscape. We cannot deny that with the death of our president, massacres may have occurred. While we cannot confirm that massacres have actually taken place, our schedule for isolated massacres here and there continues unimpeded. Our official advice for survival is to try to move in sync with the economy. Perhaps we were just testing our air defense systems, but it could have been a bureaucratic snafu. Cooperation between civilian and military officials will help dissipate any chance of a ceasefire. In order to properly mourn the death of our president from a fiscal point of view, we recommend the massive expenditure of human resources, as well as the continued diversion of public funds. In order to increase litigation between states and factions, and therefore ensure financial instability so that our schedule of massacres will be a force that shapes the fates of nations well into the next century.
Alright, this is from the loneliest bartender. That's why Candy was his favorite. She was the complete opposite of his mother. Her non-flesh was toasted with color. Her eyes were small and brown. Her non-hair painted on black coronal. She said very little because she was needlessly ashamed of her unintelligible speech. But he loved imagining her voice. She was neither maternal nor obedient. She had the tightest made pussy of them all. If she were a living woman, he might be able to say he loved her. The ship felt as if it never ended, and love was just this stupid thing taking up more and more space in his head those days. He was getting frustrated. Trixie was still eyeing the Jameson. Harmony was still dirty. Sadie was still annoying as fuck. Candy was always sweet. The ship itself, just another in a long line of plodding, boring, fruitless, go-nowhere spaces in his life that, when he shut everything down at the close, he let out a sigh more weighty and exhausted than one Sadie could ever produce from her loneless bosom. Flattened them all with a twist of his thumb and index fingers, locked up, walked home, ate dinner in front of the television, showered, or maybe didn't, and lay naked in his bed sobbing. The worst part of it being the knowledge that he'd start the process anew the next day. He drifted away, hoping he wouldn't wake up the next morning.
You can dance along if you want.
Right?
Lakita in the house. Thank you. Homeboys blowing smoke in the Christian night era of a pickup basketball game as high above the Star Sprinkles, same as they have on a few 100 billion other nights. And I noticed for the first time that Beetlejuice pulses red every few seconds, and that the dimmer stars come into focus when you're not really looking at them. And how I used to practice really hard, thinking I was going to be able to slam dunk someday. I could touch the rim, at least. Dr. J. Dr. J. Dr. J. Dr. J. Dr. J.
Thank you.